Hmm. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the WRESTLEDUDE YouTube channel for another video where I'm going to talk about a wrestler that I seem to have not really lost interest in, but something now that I watch them and I just feel annoyed watching them. And it's sort of similar to the video that I did on Charlotte Flair, where in that one I talked about sort of the stuff that has made me dislike watching her in the ring. But this time it's going to be about an AEW superstar or AEW wrestler superstar. Sorry, force a habit. Um, Not force a habit, just slip up, I would say. But yeah, this one's about Cody Rhodes. And before we get started, I do want to preface I am simply talking about the on screen, in ring character of Cody Rhodes. I am not talking about the real life person outside of the ring, Cody Rhodes and stuff like that. And I'm sure there are going to be some people that use the argument like Cody Rhodes is the same way he is outside the ring than he is inside the ring. If that's where we're going with this, then I apologize. But this is just one man's opinion. Don't get too flustered about it, I would say. And even Cody, if you're watching this, like, don't get too flustered about this. Like I said, this is one man's opinion. But I in preparation for this, I wanted to go back and I wanted to look for the moment where everything sort of changed for me in terms of like when I liked Cody and when I started to dislike Cody, and sort of pile together sort of what made the change for me. And I honestly did. I honestly did find a really big like moment that sort of led me to disliking seeing Cody on TV. And I kind of want to get into that here. So we start off with the inclusion of All In, and Cody is going great there. I'm loving Cody there. He fought Nick Aldis. He won the NWA Championship, lost it back to him fairly quickly. Still very confused to that, but, you know, I can't really speak to anything that happened behind the scenes with that. But then AEW starts leading into AEW. Cody's having some great matches. He's a really great babyface. He's facing off against guys like Darby Allin and Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. And then he has the big title match with Chris Jericho, and he loses. So now he can never challenge for the world championship again. Leading up to that entire title match and that entire program was amazing. Like, Cody Rhodes was the biggest babyface in AEW going up against one of the biggest heels in AEW, the first world champion, Chris Jericho. And when Cody lost and he could no longer challenge for the world's championship, I was interested to see like what he was going to do. Obviously, the first thing would be what happened at the end of that world title match, MJF turning on Cody Rhodes. Obviously, that was going to be his first feud. He enters the feud with MJF. Cody Rhodes is the best babyface throughout this entire thing. Like, one of my favorite moments in AEW thus far was Cody Rhodes getting the lashings. Not because I was happy to see Cody get the lashings, but because the emotion I felt during that whole segment was just incredible. And they had the first steel cage match where Cody beat Wardlow, even though Wardlow still looks pretty good, I would say. And then it went on, and MJF beat Cody Rhodes. And something else interesting happened leading up to this match. Cody Rhodes got a neck tattoo, and the jokes about it are everything. And I know like it's his choice to put it wherever the hell he wants. Like, but the reason why I bring this up is this is where I start to see the point. This is the point where everything starts to sort of not completely go downhill for me in terms of liking Cody, but it starts to gradually start to slide, starts to dip once he got this tattoo. And it was sort of just the small thing of like weird placement, you know, but I mean, it's where he wanted to put it. But the match with MJF was really good. Him losing was sort of the obvious choice. But after this, something happened. Cody came out on TV, and he was talking about the loss, and then that's when Jake the Snake Roberts debuted. And he cut this promo on Cody talking about how he lost the match, and he sort of is being a crybaby bitch about it, with Jake the Snake Roberts' words, not mine. And it was at that moment I was thinking, like, yeah, Cody is sort of being the crybaby. And then that's when Jake Roberts teases his um, new guy that he's bringing in, which turned out to be Lance Archer. And then this was when the pandemic started. So there's no crowd, which I would say is sort of one of the big factors that plays into this, and I'll get back to that towards the end here. But the pandemic starts, and this is when we get the beginning of the TNT Championship tournament, which Cody Rhodes is a part of. And during this during this tournament, there's a lot of superstars that Cody Rhodes faces off against and has really good matches, like Shawn Spears and like Darby Allin. Some people that I feel like this was sort of the point where some people started to not really like Cody because they felt that people like Shawn Spears or Darby Allin should have gone on to have that moment, to have that championship. Guys that weren't really utilized, or not really not utilized, just people that fans wanted to see reach higher levels, especially Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears, I feel like, is somebody that people repeatedly say like needs to get to a higher level continuously, and I feel like him losing to Cody here, maybe some people didn't really like that or didn't think that that was a good move, you know. But something that I saw is like not the best move was, like I said, this was when Lance Archer, take a shot. This was when Lance Archer came in, and Lance Archer got put into the TNT Championship tournament, and he was doing awesome stuff in the TNT Championship tournament. He faced Dustin Rhodes, Cody's brother. He killed, or basically destroyed, Dustin in the ring, sort of setting up the finals to be Cody Rhodes versus Lance Archer for the TNT Championship. And looking at this, coming off of the big loss to MJF, I would have loved to see Lance Archer come in as this big monster heel and beat Cody, maybe have Cody lose even more, because what makes what makes a wrestler or superstar in WWE, what makes these characters compelling is when they have their highs and when they have their lows, and seeing how the highs affect them, and especially seeing how the lows affect them. Seeing how that loss to MJF sort of affected Cody, very minimal, because then obviously he went on to be in the TNT Championship tournament. So losing to MJF and then going on to be in a tournament that you go on to win, I wouldn't really say that's that much of a downfall. But having this monster and Lance Archer come in and get to the finals of this championship tournament, what bigger of a moment could it be for this new monster of the company than to come in and beat Cody Rhodes, make Jake the Snake Roberts' words mean something when he comes out and talks to Cody and says, like, oh, this guy's coming, Hail Caesar, and all this stuff. That was still a very great promo. I very much love it. But then, yeah, we get to the TNT Championship match. Mike Tyson out there with the championship, doing the whole yawn. And then Cody beats Lance Archer. Becomes the first ever TNT champion. I kind of feel like Lance Archer should have won this. But that's just my opinion. It may be an opinion that a lot of people share, but it is just one person's opinion. But yeah, in my opinion, I feel like Lance Archer should have won this. And Cody winning it, while, yes, still I was okay with it, it was just that Cody has had some big moments already. I would have loved to have Lance Archer have a big moment and have him win the TNT Championship, be the first ever TNT champion. But, you know, you had the heel Chris Jericho as the first ever AEW World's Champion. Maybe they didn't want to have too many first ever, like, big male champions be heels. Who knows? But in my opinion, I feel like Lance Archer probably should have won the TNT Championship first. Let me think here. I got my notes open here. I'm trying to see here. I went through a long timeline of like all of Cody's like AEW career just to see where we got to this point. Okay, so after Cody wins the TNT Championship, he gets his hand raised by Mike Tyson, who thankfully didn't look tired this time. And then Cody Rhodes starts to do the TNT Championship Open Challenge, which was very great, except, however, during these matches, he started doing more heelish things, sort of like doing push-ups in the ring or being very aggressive, and a lot of people started catching on to this. And this was where people online especially started to speculate, maybe this is the beginning of a Cody Rhodes heel turn. And that interested me. That very much interested me. He had matches with the likes of Sonny Kiss and Jungle Boy. And then we got onto a big title match between Cody Rhodes and Scorpio Sky. And this was where a lot of people either thought Scorpio Sky is winning this championship, or Cody Rhodes is going to retain this championship and he's going to turn heel officially. The match happens, and Cody Rhodes beats Scorpio Sky pretty clean, and he's acting like a babyface the entire time. Shakes Scorpio Sky's hand. They do the whole hand raise at the end of the show. That was kind of meh for me. You know, they gave Scorpio Sky a sort of special entrance. He knocked down the door. You know, a lot of people were getting behind Scorpio Sky. He was getting a singles push on TV. A lot of people thought this could be a very big moment for him. And then Cody Rhodes beat him. And this was where I started to see some people start to compare this Cody Rhodes to like the Reign of Terror Triple H. I would not go that far to say, like, people were comparing this to when Triple H beat Booker T at WrestleMania. I would not compare this to that. I would still say Booker and Triple H at WrestleMania was a lot worse than Scorpio Sky and Cody Rhodes here. But this was still pretty meh to me. And then the next opponent that came along, and the next thing in Cody Rhodes' career that I very much liked in AEW was when he went into his feud with Brodie Lee. And this was where people very much loved it. Cody Rhodes versus Brodie Lee for the TNT Championship, Saturday Night Dynamite, and Brodie Lee destroys Cody and wins the TNT Championship. The Nightmare family is laid out. Dustin gets laid out. Brandy gets choked out by Anna Jay. Gives Anna Jay a pretty big moment. Now she has the moniker of the Queen Slayer and a cool finishing move of the sleeper hold called the Queen Slayer because of this moment. The heroes have fallen and the Dark Order stands tall. A very cool moment, obviously, because, like I said, it gives the heroes a falling moment. The reason why I would say this sort of fell flat to me afterwards, the memory is still very cool to have Brodie Lee have destroyed Cody like that. But, and obviously this is sort of because of me reading into stuff online in the dirt sheets and stuff like that. The reason why this moment was sort of cheapened for me was because it was reported that Cody lost the championship so that he could go on and film his reality TV show, The Go Big Show. And the fear sort of creeped into me once Cody came back to TV. He had the black hair for like 1 or 2 weeks or something like that. And they set up the rematch between him and Brodie. It was going to be a dog collar match. And the fear started to creep in, and boy, did it come to fruition. Cody Rhodes beat Brodie Lee for the TNT Championship as soon as he came back to TV in his first match back against Brodie. It was a really good match. I just would have liked to see Brodie with the championship a little bit longer. And obviously the stuff with Brodie that happened after that, which very much sucked to have happen. It just kind of sucked to see Brodie have this big career-changing moment where he wins the TNT Championship. He's a champion in AEW. He's being a really cool champion. It feels like they're sort of setting up some title feuds down the line with like Colt Cabana or Hangman Page even in the future. And then, you know, just Cody comes back. Cody wins the championship and dyes his hair blonde again. But yeah, Cody wins the TNT Championship again, and then he enters a feud with Darby Allin. And then Darby Allin, this was another point where I feel like Cody started to lose some of his fans, because in the time that Cody had been in AEW and sort of in the time that Cody was off TV filming a show, fans started cheering for a lot more people in AEW because they started to connect more with people. One of these people was Darby Allin. Darby Allin, a homegrown talent in AEW, became one of the biggest baby faces in AEW. Some would say at this point even bigger than Cody Rhodes, which is why the online sort of wrestling community in AEW started cheering for Darby to win the title match more than having Cody retain, because they wanted Darby to have this big moment. So heading into this title match, you know, sort of both guys were playing babyface, but in the hearts of fans, I myself included, I was cheering Darby and I was booing Cody, which sort of feeds into where everyone started booing Cody, because before, like, he was sort of on this role of acting sort of heelish. So this was another moment where a lot of people thought, like, okay, either Darby's winning this championship or Cody's going to turn heel. Darby ended up winning the championship, which was pretty fucking awesome, I would say. But Cody still acted kind of babyface after this match. You know, he was celebrating with Darby and stuff like that. And then after this, Cody kind of continued to hang around Darby, which I remember it was like a tag team match where, like, the TNT champion, Darby Allin, was getting worked over most of the match, and then I think Cody made the hot tag. I think Cody ended up picking up the win. That just seemed like a very weird decision in my mind, having the champion worked over for the majority of the match and then having Cody, the non-champion, pick up the win. It just kind of felt weird to me and kind of made me kind of roll my eyes at Cody. It was like, I don't know who booked for the match. Maybe it was Tony Khan booked the match that way for the champion not to get the win. But, you know, it just kind of felt weird. And then Cody and Darby entered the feud with Team Taz, and then Sting debuted. And when Sting debuted, I got worried again, because they did a face-off with Sting and Cody, and then maybe like one or two more times there was a promo segment between Sting and Cody, and it felt like they were going to set up a match between Sting and Cody where Sting would lose to Cody and Sting would shake Cody's hand and yada, yada, yada. I didn't want that. I'm glad they didn't go with that. I'm glad they just went with Sting partnering with Darby, and that was sort of the tag team. And then Cody, Cody sort of fell down a rabbit hole into what many people, especially in the friendo community of Going and Raw, now call Cody Island, where Cody is sort of off in his own world, doing his own thing with his own separate group of people. And one of the big things that happened when we entered Cody Island territory was he entered a tag team feud with Jade Cargill, which, I'll be honest, at first I was very worried when Jade Cargill debuted, because my stupid brain thought that they were going to do some sort of feud between just Jade Cargill and Brandi Rhodes, where Jade Cargill accused Cody of cheating on Brandi Rhodes with Jade Cargill. I don't know why. I was just getting flashbacks to like horrible Vince Russo era of Impact Wrestling. But yeah, or Claire Lynch vibes. I just thought maybe that was the way. I'm glad I was wrong. I don't know why the fuck I thought that, but for a split second I thought that's where it was going. Thankfully, Jade Cargill brought up Shaq. They were setting up a tag team match between Brandi Rhodes and Cody versus Shaq and Jade Cargill. But during this time, Brandi Rhodes got pregnant, and so she pulled out of the tag team match, and Red Velvet took her place. Now, I haven't really been a big fan of Brandi Rhodes as a wrestler in AEW. I just felt like a majority of the stuff that she's done in AEW has been very poor. Obviously, the Nightmare Collective was very poor, and they swept that under the rug. The whole tag team thing with Allie and Brandi was kind of poor, especially the way that it ended, just kind of prematurely, you know? I don't really think it had a really good payoff. And then, like, really the only moment that I can confidently say I had fun seeing, or I enjoyed seeing Brandi in AEW, was when she came out during Cody's lashing segment with MJF and sort of held Cody's hand. That is the highlight moment, I would say, for Brandi Rhodes for me in AEW. Nothing else has really interested me. And obviously, like I said, that's one man's opinion. I'm sure a lot of people have enjoyed a lot of the stuff that she's done. And I wasn't really excited to see her enter this tag team feud, which I guess sort of in a way I was glad that she had to pull out, because I was excited to see someone like Red Velvet get a big stage. You know, this is going to be Shaquille O'Neal on TV. That means that a lot of people are going to get eyes on Cody. It means there are going to be a lot of eyes on Jade Cargill, and it means there's going to be a lot of eyes on Red Velvet. That is two big female names, which at this time the AEW women's division didn't really, in my opinion, didn't really have a lot of big names in the women's division. So that's two women in the women's division that are going to get a lot of exposure. What I had a problem with this feud was the women, especially Red Velvet, barely got anything. Like, honestly, actually, I would say Jade Cargill got a lot. Red Velvet got barely anything. Like, she got a mention maybe once or twice from what I remember heading into this feud. It was sort of just like, oh my god, Cody Rhodes is going to go up against Shaq. Shaq is going to wrestle. Jade Cargill, new wrestler, going to make her in-ring debut. Also, Red Velvet's there. Like, that's kind of what it felt like to me. So I guess Cody just kind of got a brunt of it based on him being involved in this, which sort of made me sour on Cody even more. Especially, like, this was just sort of like a celebrity feud. Like, this sort of felt like something that would be on, like, WrestleMania. And AEW, for their credit, they've done celebrity feuds and stuff like that very well. I've enjoyed pretty much the majority or pretty much all of the celebrity matches in AEW. But Cody went on to lose the tag team match to Shaq, but he wasn't involved in the pin. It was Jade pinning Red Velvet, which, you know, kind of sucks for Red Velvet. Like I said, I wanted her to get a big moment here, but Jade, I was okay with Jade winning. After this, we ended up having this Face of the Revolution ladder match. And as soon as I saw the title for this match, and I saw that Cody was involved, I went, oh boy, Cody's winning this. And then the match goes on, and at some point in the match, Cody gets injured and he starts getting carried to the back. And this was something that also Going in Raw picked up on. If you go back and watch their review for this, like, they pick up on, even when the match doesn't really involve Cody directly, the camera is still sort of panning on Cody. Like, there are people climbing the ladder going after this thing, and yet for some reason it feels like the camera is focused on Cody, who's just like being escorted out through like one of the tunnels. Which, yeah, I sort of agreed with having like the focus sort of be on Cody. Just focus on the match. If Cody comes back to the match, fine, Cody comes back to the match, but just focus on the match. And thankfully, Cody didn't end up winning this. Like, it looked like Cody was about to win it, but then no, Scorpio Sky came in and won. He won the big Sonic ring or onion ring or gold coin or whatever, gold ring, whatever you want to call it. And seeing Scorpio Sky win and seeing Cody Rhodes lose definitely made me sort of laugh at Cody as if he was a heel. And I liked seeing the heel Cody lose and having Scorpio Sky finally get this moment. This is where I was starting to sense the trend. Every time I haven't really liked something that Cody has done or like a match that Cody has won, it's because the people that he's involved with, I would rather have them win and have them get these big moments and have themselves build themselves up, because at this point Cody is a big name in AEW. At this point I would like to have seen people besides Cody get a lot of screen time, a lot of big moments in their career. People like Scorpio Sky, or people like Darby Allin, or people like Brodie Lee, people like Lance Archer, who at this point, I don't remember Lance Archer really doing much of anything at this time. I can't remember a big moment. Like, wasn't Lance Archer in this ladder match, or wasn't he in like a title match? I can't even remember. But yeah, thankfully Cody didn't win this Face of the Revolution ladder match. That went to Scorpio Sky, who went on to have a pretty cool title match with Darby Allin. Then he went on to team with Ethan Page and be the Men of the Year. After this was another weird moment in Cody's like little mini island. He entered a mini feud with Pentagon Jr., who acted very heelish, made fun of Cody's new daughter that was coming on the way, and they ended up having a match. This match, it was a good match, but just a very weird ending. And once again, I'll point towards Going in Raw podcast that I agree with. The ending to this match was horrible. The majority of the match, Pentagon is working over Cody's arm, And then towards the end of the match, Pentagon does his sort of signature arm break spot where he does this move where he like snaps your arm, and it's supposed to kayfabe break your arm. It's supposed to dislocate your shoulder and stuff like this. Pentagon does this move, and then Cody rolls up Pentagon for the win. Like, how are you going to have such a big, impactful moment like that, and then Cody sort of barely no-sells it, rolls up Pentagon. I can't remember specifically. I think he even uses the bad arm. Maybe not. I don't think so. Rolls up Pentagon for the win. And then after this, like, the feud is over. Like, they don't reference it. I don't think Pentagon beats up Cody after the match or anything like that. I think Pentagon just, like, rolls out of the ring or something like that. Like, this entire, like, mini-feud was just like, okay, that was random. And then, like, the ending to the match was just sort of like, really? Like, Pentagon works over Cody's arm the entire match. Pentagon does the big arm break spot, and then Cody beats him with a roll-up? Really? That just felt kind of weird to me. Another moment of, like, weird booking that just kind of made me dislike Cody. And then we head into more recent times, his feud with QT Marshall, where QT Marshall turned heel. And he sets up this big faction of the Factory. And I see this, and I'm like, oh, cool. This could be pretty cool. I would like to see these guys get a big moment. Maybe they can beat up Cody. Maybe Cody will have a nice downfall before he gets another rise as the hero. And maybe the QT Marshall and his faction will have some big moments. They can become big established names. Nope. Cody pretty easily beats them all up. QT and the Factory hardly ever looked intimidating whenever it came face to face with Cody, and the whole feud pretty much seemed pointless and predictable and ended up happening pretty much exactly how I figured it would. And then this comes the feud with Anthony Ogogo of the Factory. Oh boy. And the promo. And pretty early on, it kind of seemed like this whole feud was centered around one of my least favorite wrestling tropes of USA versus non-USA. And Cody Rhodes comes out and he cuts this promo, and it's a pretty grand promo. He's talking about race inequality and, you know, America and all this stuff, and the divides between Americans nowadays and stuff like that. And on the surface, I mean, sure, it was very heartfelt. It had some sweet stuff in it. But like I said, it was involved in the feud between USA and non-USA. I'm pretty sure the majority of wrestling fans would agree that this is probably their least favorite type of feud. And this was definitely one of the big moments where my love for Cody Rhodes just took a plunge. Just because, like, I don't want to hear about, like, I'm sure, like, it was a good message. Like, I just don't want to hear about any of this stuff. Like, I just want to have you guys feud over, like, I want to beat you. I want to beat you. I don't want there to be talk about, like, you know, Anthony Ogogo, he came to America, is insulting America. And that was another point. Anthony Ogogo was assaulting America, insulting America, and saying how horrible we are, when even people from America, a lot of us were agreeing with him. Like, America is horrible right now, especially during this feud. And a lot of people were agreeing with the bad guy who's not from America. And we were sort of laughing or being turned off by the babyface Cody, who was from America in this feud. So that was another moment where I was looking at this, I was like, I'm supposed to be cheering Cody, but I agree with the bad guy. So, like, going into this feud, I was cheering Anthony Ogogo because I agreed with him, and I was booing Cody Rhodes. So, yeah, it was just such a weird moment. And all this time, they're building up Anthony Ogogo with, like, this gut shot finisher. They're heading into the match. They do the weigh-in, which sort of was, like, a pretty bad fart moment. I think they covered it on the reality show Roads to the Top, which reality show gets thumbs down for me. I don't like reality shows really at all. I think I only ever really liked one, which was Duck Dynasty. I don't really like reality shows when they have to do with wrestling, just because even in the reality shows, stuff is still faked. which was something that I found out about Duck Dynasty years later, and it kind of made me sour on that a little bit. But yeah, even still, stuff like Total Divas or Total Bellas or whatever, Roads to the Top, I'm sure has some fake stuff in it. But yeah, reality shows just get a thumbs down from me. And then we go on and we have the match, Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo. And Cody Rhodes comes dressed out pretty much as Homelander from The Boys, which if you don't know what The Boys is and you don't know who Homelander is the biggest dickhead representation of America as a superhero. He is what Peacemaker is times a billion, and like, if you haven't seen The Boys, watch The Boys and you'll understand what I mean. If you haven't seen The Boys, I don't know how else to explain it to you. He's a fucking dickhead. But having Cody Rhodes, the babyface of this feud, come out dressed up as USA dickhead Homelander, which, yes, I'm using for the thumbnail of this video because I liked the Photoshop job I did on it. I think it turned out pretty good. But yeah, having him come out like this definitely wanted me to cheer Anthony Ogogo even more. And then on top of this, during the match, Anthony Ogogo does his gut check or gut punch finisher, and Cody pretty much no-sells it, which really got a sour taste in my mouth. And then Cody went on and beat Anthony Ogogo. And since then, we've only ever seen Anthony compete in one match. I think it was because he had to get surgery on his eye, which, understandable, but it just really sucked, because this is another moment of an upcoming wrestler in AEW that has this feud with Cody Rhodes, a monster heel guy, sort of like Lance Archer before, sort of like Brodie Lee before, where you think this is a great moment for Cody to get some sort of comeuppance, the hero to have his downfall, and then the hero just wins. And then he moves on, and then we have sort of like this tag team match later on where it's QT Marshall and Anthony Ogogo versus Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson. And Anthony Ogogo and QT Marshall end up winning the match after QT Marshall pins Cody Rhodes. So we end up having QT Marshall beat Cody Rhodes after Cody Rhodes just beat Anthony Ogogo. Granted, Anthony Ogogo's the one that delivered the shot that knocked out Cody Rhodes for the win. But to me, that just didn't really feel good enough. I would have liked to have seen, Anthony Ogogo pick up the pinfall win here. But I guess since Anthony Ogogo had to leave after this, and seeing where the feud went after this with QT Marshall, I guess that's sort of how things had to play out. Also, Cody got the win here. I would have at least liked to have seen Lee Johnson, get pinned in this, just so there's not really the thing of, like, Cody being involved, I guess. I don't know. This tag team match, the ending to this tag team match was just very weird to me, in my opinion. And then this leads to the return of fans, Road Rager, QT Marshall versus Cody Rhodes in the Four Corners match. At this point, I was just uninterested in anything Cody did, just because after so many times of seeing the hero conquer the bad guy, it just got very, very predictable. And I just did not care about this match because it was so predictable that Cody was going to win. And he won! But then, this was something that I didn't see coming. This was insane! The debut of Malachi Black. The debut of Malachi Black comes out, Black masses Cody, Black masses Arn Anderson. We get another monster heel coming in to have a feud with Cody. But the worries come back. From time and time again, with Brodie, with Lance Archer, with Anthony Ogogo, with The Factory, the worries come back that Malachi Black comes into AEW, has a feud with Cody, and Cody beats him easily. Or not easily, just Cody beats him. But it doesn't happen. Malachi Black ends up beating Cody Rhodes super quickly, and Cody Rhodes teases retirement. But then this victory was also sort of soured for me because it was reported again that Cody was losing to Malachi Black so he could be written off TV to go film the Go Big show. Now, obviously, if I hadn't seen that, maybe it would have meant a lot more to me. But seeing it like this, I felt that same feeling when I heard about it with Brodie. I sort of felt like it's only a matter of time between Cody coming back to TV and beating Malachi Black again. And Cody comes back to TV, Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes, number 2. Malachi Black wins again. Heck yeah. Obviously, he sort of had to cheat to do it with the Black Mist, but heck yeah. I was excited for that. I was having a lot of fun. And yeah, this was where I was starting to like Cody losing. Because after so long, it just felt so good to see Cody lose repeatedly to an opponent and make the opponent look really dangerous, to make the opponent look really good. And, you know, this was where, at this point, I feel like Cody should have turned heel a while ago, just to make his character more interesting. And it made me think, you know, there was all those teases during the TNT Open Challenge tournament or matches where like he was doing the push-ups and he was sort of acting aggressive and stuff like that, and I was wondering back then, like, what the heck changed to where it felt like we were headed towards a heel turn? I don't know what the heck happened. And then there was this interview, I can't remember where it was, but Cody said in an interview that he felt like Woody from Toy Story. And he's right. I would agree with Cody. He's right. Cody was the character that everyone is invested in. Cody was the big favorite toy in the toy room. And then what happened was, after a while, the character just got stale. The character didn't really evolve. It was just babyface that fights for good, and I'm a good person, and this is a bad guy, this is a monster heel, and I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna win. And yeah, that just sort of became very, very sour to me, and very predictable and very boring, in my opinion. And then after a while, he felt unbeatable. I have here in my notes, he felt unbeatable at times where I felt like he shouldn't have won some of his matches with the likes of Lance Archer, with the likes of maybe even Scorpio Sky, winning that TNT Championship from him, or especially the likes of Anthony Ogogo. Those are three feuds where I feel like he definitely should have like come out on the losing end with Lance Archer, or even after that with Scorpio Sky, or with Anthony Ogogo. Those are the three big feuds, I would say, where Cody Rhodes definitely should have lost, where he ended up coming out on the winning end. Yeah, and that brings us on to more recently with Cody Rhodes and Malachi Black's third and final match, where Cody Rhodes came out and was overly overly booed. And yeah, throughout the match, whenever it seemed like Cody had the advantage or whenever it seemed like Cody was about to win, the crowd was booing the crap out of him. And whenever it looked like Malachi Black was going to win, the crowd was cheering. Because much like myself, everyone was sort of tired of having Cody as the sort of unbeatable good guy. Even though Malachi Black had beaten him 2 times before, we all figured that Cody was at least going to get one big win. And, you know, this is sort of a point I'll get into in more depth later on, but I kind of had a feeling that Cody was going to win this third match, but I didn't want him to because I didn't really see that much of an effect from the losses from the other 2 matches. And Cody went on to win this third match, and the crowd did not like it. The crowd did not like it at all. Yeah, this was just sort of the antithesis of Cody Rhodes, the big babyface of AEW, having this downward spiral with the fans, not in his career, but with the fans not really liking him anymore. And the reason I would say that this has all happened is because, like I said, Cody Rhodes' character hasn't really evolved much since the start of AEW. He has just been sort of like big babyface that is fighting for good and wants to stand up for his morals and stuff like that. And then they sort of started going that way. They started teasing a heel turn during his TNT Open Challenge days. And then it just never went anywhere. And then he just went right back to big babyface Cody Rhodes. And then there were obviously the weird booking decisions with, like, you know, the Shaq feud and the Pentagon match, personally for me. And, you know, I just felt like a heel turn would have been really good for Cody. And I think there was an interview that he did where he said, like, I don't ever want to go heel. And I feel like that is a horrible decision to make. In my opinion, that is a horrible decision to make. And who knows, maybe it's a work. Maybe I'm getting worked. Maybe this whole video is just me getting worked. But yeah, the best way I could have seen, or could still see Cody regaining those fans, is if Cody turns heel, he snaps, he turns heel, he doesn't go total MJF dickhead heel, but lean more into him being a prick or prideful asshole, much like Homelander. Have him be like Bo Dallas in NXT, where Bo Dallas was just overly joyful, overly cheery, overly trying to act like a babyface, but being a heelish dickhead asshole in doing it. And this would basically be a way for Cody to rebuild himself, have the character evolve, have Cody be in these feuds with babyfaces, and maybe have those babyfaces truly be built up and have the babyfaces beat heel Cody. And then somewhere down the line, Cody can become babyface again and people will like him again. Who knows? Maybe it will be like when MJF becomes the world champion. And then MJF starts bad-mouthing everybody, and then MJF and Cody cross lines again, and hopefully by that point people are clamoring to see Cody turn babyface again, go back on his word about him never challenging for the World Championship again, and then having Cody versus MJF #2 for the World's Championship, and then Cody can win the world title, and people can be excited that Cody is the world's champion, and then you can see where else Cody goes after that. Who knows? But yeah, a lot of stuff just really built up to the point where I was kind of tired of seeing Cody as a babyface in AEW and became disinterested with him. His character wouldn't evolve over time. It felt like they were teasing a heel turn that never happened. You know, it seemed like there were points where there were feuds that he should have lost but didn't. And then, you know, some of the stuff that did end up happening just felt way too predictable and boring to the point where I just became disinterested with it. You know, feuds seemed obvious that Cody was winning them. Matches, the obvious outcome was pretty obvious, especially with the QT Marshall feud. And like I said, you know, I would like to see Cody turn heel. I feel like that is the best way for him to regain a lot of his fan base that sort of fell off. And I will agree with him on one point where he says he feels like Woody from Toy Story. He does feel like Woody from Toy Story. There are a lot of big superstars, not just the ones that have come in, the new ones like Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, CM Punk. If you put all those guys in a bracket, who do you think is going to come out as the top babyface in that bracket? I feel like Cody Rhodes is going to be somewhere towards the bottom. And then you've got homegrown guys like Jungle Boy or Darby Allin or freaking other people that have been built up. Sammy Guevara, Fuego del Sol even, that have been built up as these big baby faces where, yes, a lot of people are going to cheer for a lot of these new guys that are up-and-coming baby faces rather than Cody because, you know, they're the new hot, fresh thing, and Cody has been around for a while. The way that Cody Rhodes could still stay around with all these new baby faces and new guys coming in being cheered is have his character evolve a little bit. And maybe, you know, after losing to Malachi Black twice, Cody sort of got pumped up by Arn Anderson, you know, to have this newfound aggression. Who knows? Maybe this newfound aggression, we haven't seen it yet. I'm filming this Wednesday night. Dynamite has happened. I haven't watched it yet because I just got home from work. But who knows? Maybe I'm about to watch Dynamite. Maybe this newfound aggression in Cody will lead him down a path towards that heel turn. I don't know. We'll have to see in the coming weeks and months. But yeah, I just feel like a lot of that stuff led to my disinterest in Cody. Maybe I should make the title Why I Hate Cody Rhodes in 2021. Maybe it should just be like Why I'm Disinterested in Cody Rhodes in 2021. But I don't know. Maybe 2022 will be a better year for Cody. I don't know. But I kind of wanted to make this video sort of as like therapeutic sort of thing for me, but also I wanted to see if maybe there were people that sort of agreed with some of my points or disagreed. So let me know in the comment section below. What was sort of the turning point for you for Cody? If you now sort of dislike Cody or you're disinterested by anything Cody Rhodes does in AEW, let me know in the comment section below sort of what that turning point was. Or, you know, what would you say would be the thing that would get you interested in Cody Rhodes again? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys for listening or watching this very long rant. 45 minutes, holy crap. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys later.